Welcome to the Crush It in Sales podcast. I'm your host, Melinda Van Fleet. This podcast focuses on the intersection of sales, leadership, and personal development. Now let's get ready to dig in and crush it. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Crush It in Sales podcast. Thank you in advance for tuning in and listening. I am super excited. We turned in our final draft, which was draft number 5, for the chapter that my husband Ryan and I are co-authoring. Ryan is Good Karma Sport Fishing, for the 4th annual international best-selling book series called Brilliant Breakthroughs for the Small Business Owner. That's a lot, and it's all good stuff. Maggie Mongan is the mastermind author, creator behind this whole launch, and the book will be available November 11th. I chatted about it on episode 35 of this podcast. I've mentioned it a few other times, and I'm just really excited. This was a decision made during COVID based on a new relationship with Maggie through my friend Susan, and I just really loved so many aspects of this and so many aspects that many people don't even think about or realize. Someone might just be like, oh, you just want to be in a book. No, not really. I wanted to share our message and our chapters on confidence, and I'm going to be doing more podcasting and writing about confidence, but I wanted to get the chapter done first and kind of have that be like a launch pad towards this direction that my husband and I are moving in together as a couple. And, a lot of people just assume that, they're like, oh, you just want to get your message out there and be part of a book, but there's so much more. And to be quite frank, the much more is really as equal as getting the message out for me, because I've wanted to be a writer for a very long time. It's something I've been working on. And there were various aspects that I knew I needed some help and some coaching. And you learn by doing. You can sit and read books and watch courses and go to a seminar, but until you actually do it, you're not really learning and applying and really studying. And Maggie was amazing during all of the drafts. And the things that I knew I needed to work on were the things that she picked up on. And I never even had to have that conversation. I just felt it was out there in the universe, and those things ended up happening. Some of that was in relation to flow, to structure, to word choice, some punctuation, and also to having quotes. Having my own quotes is something I've really been wanting, and she is genius at how to structure sentences so they are quotables, and that's the word that she uses, and I love that. So that was just another aspect that was really cool about this whole process. And we're still at the beginning of the process. We have to learn all the marketing. I still have to do the glossary and the bibliography. We got our headshots taken, so I'm going to use one of our headshots for marketing this podcast, so you'll be able to see that. And Ryan has never had professional pictures taken outside of just our wedding and my father's wedding, so that was an interesting process, but he's actually a lot more photogenic than I am, so kind of a little jealous there. But anyhow, I'm happy for him. And he got some really cool captain pictures too. And Mary Griffin was our photographer. If you're in the Keys, she is amazing. So in general, the process has been amazing, phenomenal. And what I want to talk about is that my mindset going into this process was right on. I've listened to other people's podcasts, other authors, other first-time authors, and they'll be like, oh, I was scared, I was nervous, I was really nervous to turn it into my editor. And I recently heard, someone who is authoring his book for the first time say, oh, I heard the editing process is, really difficult or scary. Can't remember his exact wording, but it was along those lines. And I wasn't nervous or scared at all. And I started to think about it, because when you go through the editing process, you're kind of getting your words maybe torn apart, being told to do things differently, rephrase things, so someone could look at it as a challenge, like, oh, I'm being challenged. They're not liking what I wrote. And you can take it personally. I definitely can understand how someone has that point of view. But my mindset going into the whole process was just of pure love and learning and being open to the feedback. And when I think back about, how did I get to this place? It's because of all the experience that I've had in my career. Even stemming back to the corporate world, where as a corporate buyer, I would have to present ideas and line assortments, all sorts of things. And like, for example, at Victoria's Secret stores, which was a very, very harsh environment, especially back in the day, you get torn apart. They would pretty much tell you that, no, I don't like that. That's ugly. And you had to suck it up and not let it affect you at all. And I experienced that many times in my career. At Saks Fifth Avenue, same thing. If upper management didn't like your idea, there was no bones made about it. There was no dancing around the subject, with a soft tone, all that stuff. It just didn't exist. It was, straight up feedback, and you have 24 hours to fix this or get it right, or you better get your butt back into market and find something to replace this, or you better work with your designer. And what was interesting always to me was the designers were the ones that were the sensitive ones. So it was very challenging as a merchant then to take the feedback from upper management and try to relay that to the designers. It was actually a very, very challenging piece of the job. If anyone's been a merchant in retail, a little different than being a buyer. So merchants more deal with a design team versus buying just from the market. And that was very challenging. So I had to learn how to suck it up on my end and, take the feedback and then also then relay it to a designer. So that made it, just who was normally very sensitive. So that was always kind of a challenge. But anyhow, I believe that experience over the years really helped me develop thick skin, that everything in life is a learning, and really making sure that your mindset is in the right place before you venture into a new project. I think that is really, really important. So how can you get there? Let's say you're working on a new project. Let's say you're working on a book or a course. Really take some time to think about how you're going to feel from all aspects. Of course, we want to have a great mindset that the course is going to sell, 100 courses and you're charging it $1,000 each, let's say, for example. But, sometimes that doesn't work out. So how are you going to be when that doesn't work out? Are you going to be down in the dumps? Or are you going to be like Rocky and get up and keep going? And those are things that you really have to consider on the front end, I believe, before you start down any of these processes of developing a business, working on your sales business, or even helping a friend or another person. I think that having the right mindset and being able to address it from all sides, being cognizantly aware of that, is just really, really important. So take some time before you venture into a new project to make sure that, quite frankly, your head's on straight, that you don't have such huge high expectations that if it comes crumbling down, you don't like the feedback or you don't like the response, that you're not able to move forward and keep on going. You need to be able to take that feedback and tweak or pivot and keep on going and give it another shot. I know everyone can do that. It's just taking the time and recognizing it. The other tip I'm going to put in the bucket with this is to draw upon past experiences. I think it's so important. Like, you're not living in the past. You're not going, oh, this happened to me and now I'm feeling blue. That's different. It's super important to draw upon past experiences for strength, for fuel. And everyone has past experiences that were successful, and everyone has past experiences that were not as successful. And often most people don't talk about the past experiences that were not as successful, but we all have them, let's face it. And the older you get, the more you have. So draw upon those and sit and think about those. How did that make you feel? And what could you do better this time going into your new project or adventure or relationship? So I hope these tips help. Again, I'm super excited for our chapter to be live in November when the book comes out. And feel free to reach out to me if you would like to be on the list to hear more about it and be part of anything that we have going on as far as pre-launch. I would love to hear from you. And it's been an adventure so far, and I'm just really, really glad that I did it. I've learned a lot. I'm super proud of our chapter. My husband is as well. And I hope that it's relatable to many people out there. One thing I knew going into this is that my husband and I have a lot of stories and a lot of experience. So it was taking those stories and experiences, putting together with our tips and tools, and making it a chapter that is relatable and can really help others. And I hope you are able to get that from our chapter when you read it. So till next time, connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. My Instagram is Melinda_Van Fleet. My other podcast is called The Good Karma Success Coach. I would love if you check that out as well. My website for that podcast is goodkarmasuccesscoach.com, and you can sign up for my monthly Mojo newsletter via that website. That is where I host my newsletter, and I would love for you to be part of it. My private Facebook group is called Good Vibes, and that's all I've got today. So I hope you have a really awesome rest of your week. And until next week, I hope you crush it in sales. Thanks again for listening.